So I'm finding these on eBay mainly, but also some Facebook Marketplace sales. And a lot of these cars are not listed as what they're sold as. They're just listed as, garage find, RC car, or nitro car. And the problem I've got is trying to figure out exactly what it is so that I can buy spares for it, if they're even available. A lot of these cars are quite old. This one, as with quite a few of the others I've done, I've got a lot of rust and rot. The bolts and screws are just rotten. But the problem I'm finding is trying to figure out exactly what it is. So you'll notice at the beginning of this, I will put on every one of these that I do what I believe it is, based on a basic Google search for what this generally looks like, which is a 1/10 scale, obviously a 1/10 scale, electric monster truck. And just going through to see what I can find that resembles. I mean, this one is quite specifically different to all the others I've done that are 1/10 scale, because this one has twin shock absorbers per wheel. Not so common in 1/10 scale. I've got a couple of cars 1/8 scale or 1/7 scale that have twin shock absorbers per wheel, but this one I thought was quite different. So obviously the Google search for this was a little easier. I believe it is, like I said at the beginning, an HSP Brontosaurus, I believe. But I have since seen something else that would suggest it might have been an FTX. Although subsequent Googling of that hasn't really yielded the results I expected. I've not found anything really on Google Images that matches it under the FTX name. So really I don't know. I'm just assuming at this point that it is actually an HSP Brontosaurus. It's quite an old car by the looks of it. The biggest problem that I had with this one, which I didn't realise actually until I bought the chassis for it, was because obviously I couldn't get another plastic chassis for it, so I found it via the HSP product number. The chassis that I bought is actually an aluminium machined chassis, and the motor is on the opposite side. I have no idea why I can't find a chassis with the motor on the other side as this came. So the problem, I mean, a lot of people would probably think this isn't much of an issue, and in a lot of ways it isn't, but the motor wouldn't actually fit. When I modified the chassis, it wouldn't actually fit because it had a shield around it, a magnetic shield around it. So in order to get the motor to fit, I've had to take the shield off. I do have a milling machine and I can mill the chassis out, but it just seems a bit of a waste to me, because everything I do like that, I'm weakening the new chassis. So I thought I'd leave it and I'd drill a few new holes and I'd move everything over to the other side of the chassis. I think in the end I drilled an extra 5 holes over what would be standard for that chassis, and I don't think it looks too bad. So see what you think by the end of the video. The only thing, obviously, I'm not here trying to make these exactly as they are original. The only thing that the only thing that did confuse me a little bit, like I said, was that the original chassis was plastic. I couldn't find a plastic one anywhere, and everything else I looked for, the motor came up on the other side. Every car that was even similar had the motor on the other side, and I think the only thing that I found that did hint towards something different was that this could have possibly been a ready-to-run car, which was sold ready-to-run rather than a kit version. And I read somewhere that the kit version was different. I don't know if they do that so that you can't buy spare parts for one or the other, but this is where I'm at with it. So I don't think it turned out too bad in the end. See what you think. So this is where it got interesting. This is the bit where I held up the motor mount to try and drill some new holes. Didn't realise it was going to be quite as awkward as it was, really. I could have obviously done it a lot more sensibly and a lot more accurately than I did, but I believe that I could get away with doing it the way I was going to do it, which is just sort of eyeing it up and marking with a marker pen. It didn't go too badly. I had to drill at an angle because I thought if the screw holes are off slightly, or if everything's too tight, then it's not going to run properly. So I've made it so that I can move the motor mount at a 45-degree angle, so not much, just enough that if I need to make an adjustment to it, I can move the motor mount.